Om Ahyanatimanasya Chanansala Shalakaya Shakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gom Vaishnavam Sham Shri Upam Jagajatam Sakana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjan Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sutadevi Panamama Haripriye Pankha Kalto Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyai Dejatarane. Hare Krishna, good evening. We will continue discussing Nectar of Instruction. We are still at text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Utsahan Nisaya Dayat Tat Karma Pavartanat Sangatyara Sato Vrite Sadvir Bhakti Prasidhyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service, 1 being enthusiastic, 2 endeavoring with confidence, 3 being patient, 4 acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23, hearing, chanting and remembering of Krishna. 5 abandoning the association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So we have been discussing this verse for many weeks, and now we are at point 3, that Dayat, being patient, the importance of being patient in devotional service. And we continue reading the purport of Srila Prabhupada. These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continue to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, But she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similar in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks Avasya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. That is called confidence. So activities must be executed with patience. That Prabhupada started this movement on the instruction of his divine spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. He started this movement, but he could not execute the order of his spiritual master until his later age, and but his entire lifetime was a preparation for executing these instructions. And that it was even predicted at his birth that he would cross the oceans and establish Krishna consciousness in far-off countries. But then at a certain time, when Prabhupada's business started to collapse, then at that time Srila Prabhupada, he took sannyas, but that was also a gradual process. His Guru Maharaj appeared 3 times in dreams, telling him to take sannyas. And this was not really the desire of Prabhupada, but since it was a desire of his Guru Maharaj, that Krishna forced him to take Vanaprastha at a certain moment. And finally he took sannyas. And then he was in Vrindavan in the Radha Damodar temple. And he wanted first to translate the first canto of the Bhagavatam, so that he not would arrive in America empty-handed. He translated the first canto of the Bhagavatam in English in 3 volumes, and it was a whole struggle. He translated it, but then it was just after the war, and there was no paper for printing. He had to beg for printing paper to get donations. He had to go from Vrindavan to Delhi to see the printer every time. And when it was printed every day, he would stay in Vrindavan and he would stay in Delhi during the printing, and every day he would go to proofread the printing, because the setting of the printer, the printing system was different in these days. It had to be set letter by letter. It was a big endeavor. It took time. And in the meantime, he was also distributing, writing, printing, back to Gotthard, and distributing it. There was a magazine to get funds. He was going into tea shops and so on to distribute his back to Gotthard. But yes, And then at the certain moment he was caught by a bull that became injured, and that he was all over 60. Was a lot of obstacles, and then he wanted to come to the West. That he prepared to come after the printing of the Bhagavatam, and he was asking Mrs. Morari, I forgot her complete name, but she was the director of the Indian Steam Company, and he was making, because he was teaching her the Bhagavatam. She was a follower of Vallabha Acharya, and he was teaching her the Bhagavatam, and he was asking for a free passage of the Yaladutta, which was a cargo ship, but he had some rooms for guests, and Mrs. Morari said, "No, Swami, you will die there." That she refused, but after many times repeating the requests, she finally agreed, but then he had to get a P form to go to America. P form was like a guarantee that someone would take care of him in America. And this was given by the son of a friend of him who was in America. The son, yeah. They were staying in Butler. But then finally, they refused to give him the P form, but Prabhupada was waiting outside the office until the big boss came and spoke directly with him and finally got the P form. And then he went on it Yaladutta. He got 2 heart attacks. And I was thinking a third one I will not survive. But then, because there was a big storm of the Arabian Sea, and then he finally went to the Suez Channel and the Mediterranean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean was very calm. Then he arrived in Boston, where he wrote 2 poems. And then the first year in America, he was in Butler first for 2 months. And then we went back to New York, was staying in the Bowery. And in the Bowery, his typewriter, all his possessions were stolen. And finally, after 1 year, he started to have some little success and some followers in 26 Second Avenue, where they started the first temple. And in Tompkins Square Park, he was doing Harinam, was chanting holy names, and many became attracted. And that was the beginning of the movement. And therefore it spread to San Francisco and then Montreal and so many other places all over the world. But it was not easy. That he had to endeavor, and finally Krishna reciprocated with his pure endeavor to please Krishna and his spiritual master. And that. So it didn't happen overnight, but he was successful. Similarly, the Pandavas, the Battle of Kurukshetra, their exile, so many years of endeavor. But finally, that they were successful. It's in Bhagavad Gita, wherever it is Krishna and Arjuna, there will always be victory. So we should have patience. We are looking every day in the mirror, and we see the same face. We think it's not changed, But after 10 years, you see a big difference between your picture 10 years ago and now. So it's changing gradually. Every day we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Every day we chant the Hare Krishna mantra and hear the Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, worship the deity, take only Krishna Prasad. Our heart is changing, it's purifying. The mode of passion and ignorance is removed. But that's a gradual process. And we should endeavor with confidence and be patient. And Prabhupada started the movement single-handed. When he was in America, he wrote so many letters to his godbrothers for help, but he never offered any help. There was no response. So Prabhupada writes, one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service. And this also Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Vitaragavaya Kodam Manmaya Mamupashita Bhavokana Tapasa Buddhamatmavan Agata. Many in the past, many great sages have become free from attachment, fear, and anger. And by developing transcendental knowledge for me, they have become purified and developed love for me. So many have done it in the past. We can also do it. We see in our movement there are many advanced devotees, they have become purified. Why only them? No, we can also, if we follow in their footsteps. So one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take the instructions of the spiritual master and execute them with patience, Prabhupada writes, depending on the mercy of the Guru and Krishna. Depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we have the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. When Kasper asks, where is your God? Where is he now? Is he in the pillar? And Prahlad Maharaj was fully confident in the instruction of his spiritual master and said, yes, he is in the pillar. He's everywhere. He's all pervading. So, Lord Nrsimhadev appeared from the pillar just to make these words true of Prahlad Maharaj. But Prahlad Maharaj had great faith in the order of his spiritual master and executed with patience. And Krishna reciprocates with that. How do we get this confidence and this patience? First, by hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and experience how all these instructions of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, how they are true. If you execute them, you get a result which is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, the successful execution of Krishna consciousness requires patience and confidence. Srila Prabhupada said, confidence is very important. And then he gives the example of a married girl who wants a child. But Prabhupada stresses this. Similarly, in devotional service, it means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avasya Rakshi be Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. So this help is Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita that he will help us in our devotional service. Ananya Sintiyantamam Ijana Paripasta Tesam Nitya Bhayuktanam Yoga Shemafamyam. He says, yes, if For my devotee, I protect this advancement in Krishna consciousness. And I give them more and more opportunity to advance more. That's how Krishna takes care of our spiritual advancement. That he gives us what we need, and what we need is spiritual advancement. That purification of the heart. That no demigod can give that. Only Krishna can purify our heart. That and having faith in that, that's called confidence. And then we come back to this tat karma pavartanat, for executing the regulative principles. That's regulative principles. There are negative, there are positive. The negative is following the 4 basic regulative principles, Prabhupada says. And the positive is the chanting and the hearing about Krishna. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Chanting, hearing, and remembering about Krishna. That and it's that one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic in executing these regulative principles, because the execution of these regulative principles, that makes one advance the positive and the negative. But the negative means following these 4 regulative principles: forbidden illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Following these 4 principles, that prevents us that our consciousness again becomes contaminated by passion and ignorance. So we have to stop the flow of contamination. That and at the same time, we need to purify our heart by hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. That because that purifies the subtle body. That's Krishna says, "Man mana, think of me." When you think of Krishna, your mind becomes purified. When you hear the transcendental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, your intelligence becomes purified. So, and by that, the subtle body becomes purified. And if the subtle body is purified, then the false ego, the identification with this body, sadly vanishes. So therefore, tat karma pavartanat, one must strictly follow the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these 4 prohibitions, there are the positive principles. Chanting 16 rounds on Japamala. That these 16 rounds is important. Originally, Srila Prabhupada said everyone should chant 64 rounds. But the devotee said we cannot do that. It's too much. And Prabhupada said, yeah, then chant 32 rounds. And they said, Prabhupada is still too much. And he reduced it to 16 rounds. Prabhupada could do that because he is a founder acharya. But he said, yes, chanting 16 rounds, but also doing service every day. So that's the combination we need to make. That so these regulative principles you must follow, because that's the basis. That gives you spiritual power during the day. Spiritual power which protects us against the big influence of the illusory energy. Because Krishna says, Mama Maya Dratya, this energy is very strong, this Maya, this material energy. But one can overcome it if one easily when one surrenders unto me. Surrender means following these instructions mentioned here, the positive and the negative. That is our surrender and doing service. And then we will be protected if we chant the holy name in the morning with great enthusiasm and attention. This is our personal, private time with Krishna, with the holy name. So then we make spiritual advancement. We are bound to make spiritual advancement. That so further, Prabhupada can do one more. Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. So that is this Sangha Tyaga. Give up the association of undesirable people. Prabhupada said these includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. So the karmis, we don't associate with them because they want enjoyment of the sense gratification. The jnanis, we don't associate with them because they want to merge with Brahman, that they want to become one with God. They don't understand what's the goal of yoga, what's the goal of life. Is to realize the goal of life is self-realization, realizing that one is a servant of Krishna. That and the yogis, the bona fide yogis, they go for Paramatma realization, finding God in the heart as a super soul. But then they realize that the super soul controls material nature. But you cannot go back to Godhead with that. You can maybe also merge with the Brahmajyoti temporarily, but you have to come back. So we don't chant with them. We don't associate with them. So once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of a Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asat Sangatyag, I Vaishnav Achar. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 2287. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. So what does it mean, giving up association with non-devotees? We meet so many people that maybe for our work and so on, how can we give up association? Association here means especially the taking over their bad habits. We don't know, we don't do. That we don't accept their food, we don't accept their talks about sense gratification, we stay far away of it. But for business, we can associate only for the business. That Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore recommended Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakti Sanivas. One should live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas. The six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Goswami, Sharon Das Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So these are the six Goswamis, and what are their principles? Their principles are mentioned here in summary in the Upadeshamrita. These are the principles we are learning in 11 verses. And that So one has to live in the company of pure devotees. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has established ISKCON to give everyone the opportunity to live in the association of devotees. So we should associate with devotees. We should come together a few times a week, and also on Sunday in the temple. We should associate with each other to discuss about Krishna. If one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of us associating with non-devotees. International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So this is essential. Organize our life so that we always have association of devotees. Today we have the internet also. We can hear a lecture of Prabhupada in the morning and then in the evening. It's very important to have a good morning program. That gives us the power, spiritual power. That means even if you are alone, you have to sing all the songs of the Mangal Arti, the Govastakam, the Nrsimha prayers, Tulsi Puja, and hear a lecture. Prabhupada, we can hear every morning half an hour lecture of Prabhupada. That every morning hear Prabhupada if you cannot go to the temple. And every evening hear a lecture on Bhagavad Gita. This sandwich is important, morning and evening program. Then in between we do our business. That and we continue following the regulative principle and try also to think of Krishna during the day. So we discussed here the principles of Daryat, having patience, Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat, following the positive and negative rules of devotional service, and then Sangha Tyaga, give up the association of non-devotees. So if we follow this, then success in our spiritual life will be guaranteed. But if we don't follow it and we are slacking to it, then we don't have this divine protection. Are there any questions or comments, please?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
A quick question.
Yeah, a question.
So if we can have patience with ourselves, understanding that we will develop, attraction for devotional life and things like this more and more. But how do we know if we're having too much patience with ourselves, or if is there anything you can say about that? If we're not developing as steadily as we should be.
Yeah, that it's a little tricky, this, because that the more you make spiritual advancement, the more you think you are not making spiritual advancement. But still, there are quite objective objective symptoms you can verify that because if you follow the process nicely, then you will not be attracted to sense gratification, and you will get taste for hearing about Krishna. If there is no taste, that should be an alarm bell. If there is no taste, it means we are making offenses. We have an offensive mentality. And therefore, when we chant, we should chant and perform our devotional service in a humble state of mind and be tolerant. Be tolerant, not immediately criticize other devotees. Criticizing other devotees is dangerous. So if we have that mentality that I know better, that I see other are making errors and you criticize them, and that Krishna doesn't like that we criticize his devotees. And that's many times a symptom that we are making offenses. If we are making offenses, Krishna takes our taste away. And these offenses, you have offenses towards devotees. You have offenses against the holy name, thinking it's imagination, or still doing sinful activities, breaking the four relative principles and thinking everything will be all right. These are all alarm bells, I would say. Also, when you chant and you don't think of Krishna, you don't think of Krishna while chanting, but to mundane things, that takes also away your taste. That the taste will come when we are pure in our desire, and the purity of this desire is that we must want to please Krishna. That should be our most prominent desire. And all the other desires should be used in pleasing Krishna. Because sometimes we chant and unconsciously we are praying for so many things through our desires that we are praying for material benefits. But that's not very pure. That will not give us the taste. Krishna may fulfill our material desires, and gradually he will take them away also. But that's a very slow process. So the advancement depends on the purity of our desires, and this purity of our desires, that's Anyabilasa Sunyam. So Rupa Goswami says all the other desires done to please Krishna favorably, they should be zero. And that will give it. Then Krishna gives us taste. So it's also an introspection. If we are not making advancement, we don't have taste, it means we have still work to do. But still, it's a slow process. The slow process of devotional service is a gradual development. One cannot be pure in one night or in a few years. It takes nearly 20, 30, 40 years, a lifetime to become purified, but you become always more pure. And Krishna promised in Bhagavad Gita, there is no loss or diminution in this process. Whatever spiritual advancement you get eternally. And we may become impatient, we want liberation in this life. But better to leave that up to Krishna and just endeavor to become more pure and pure, and Krishna will take care. That we are in the hands of Krishna. Spiritual life means give the control to Krishna. That and we try our best. Krishna sees that. That, but yeah, we should be patient, but at the same time, we should know where we are in devotional service, in what stage, and how to go to the next stage. That just being patient is not enough. That one must endeavor for purity and know where one is. What one is. If one is in anartha nivritti, one must hear about Krishna and remember him. That will further purify him. If one is purified in heart, then taste will come. Great taste will come, and finally ecstasy. That, but it doesn't happen at a certain moment. Sometimes it's going up and down. Sometimes you have taste, sometimes less taste. But surely it should go up, the up and down should go up. So that this is, but there is no reason to be despondent or morose at a certain time. No, that whatever advancement we make, Krishna will protect. And that confidence should be there. Does that help, Jagannath Sarampam?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will have to go now because they pick me up in a few minutes for Mangala Aarti in Radhadesh. And I wish you all the best. And next week we will continue with studying the purport of Nectar of Instruction, verse 3. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Prabha Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna.